Today we are gonna go over some tips that'll hopefully save you money when you go purchase some bourbon. Let's go! Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Carlos and thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Corner. I truly appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you so much for all your support. If you have not yet done so, please subscribe. Only favor that I ask. That is it. It's easy, right? Now, if you're feeling generous, you can like, comment, click that bell icon. We have a Patreon link that you can access in the description of this video. And talking about Patreon, we have to give a special shout out to the very first Whiskey Corner patron, Bourbon Rendezvous. Thank you so much, Bourbon Rendezvous. You are amazing. I saw that come through Patreon the other day, and I was like, what? Bourbon Rendezvous is a gold whiskyer, and I am truly appreciative. And I had to give you a shout out, call you out. Also, all our patrons will be put at the end of each video, so Bourbon Rendezvous, you will be going on there as well. But thank you so much. It is truly appreciated. And if you want to sign up to be a Patreon or patron, you can always check it out in the description, as I said earlier. All right. Well, today we're going to talk about saving some money at the liquor store. First, you know I always have to drink something on camera. So I have my little mini Glen here. Cheers. That is good. What we are drinking is some ECBP A121. I haven't found A122 here in South Florida yet, but in honor of that, because it did come out right now, I am tasting last year's batch for this type of the year. So that is great. It's always good to go back on some of the older whiskeys and kind of retaste it, you know? I forgot how good that batch was actually, so it's good to kind of go back for it. Now, as I said earlier, we are going to talk about some tips that I have to save some money when you go to buy bourbon at the liquor store. So what I'm going to talk about is a system that I follow when I go to purchase, or before I go to purchase, right? Now, as you've seen a lot of my store haul videos, I kind of go crazy, a little bit crazy, especially the last two store hauls that I've done. Yes, bad Carlos. That's not how you should go and purchase, right? You're gonna spend a lot of money, spend a lot of time, take up a lot of space, and you know, I mean, was it really all worth it? Now, I have a YouTube channel. I love bourbon and whiskey, so maybe it kind of outweighs. But for the regular whiskey collector or person that just wants to enjoy good bourbon, it's probably not the best way of going on and purchasing. So what are some tips that I have for you to be able to go and purchase whiskey and do it in the best way possible, at least from my point of view? So the system that I follow is something that I like to call the tier system, right? I didn't develop it. I heard somebody else locally that does this, and I thought it was a good idea. So I decided to incorporate it about a year or two ago. And that is basically that you put your whiskeys in different tiers or categories, if you will. Now, the way that I have mine set up is pricing categories, right? Now, the pricing categories that I have is anything under 50, anything under 100, anything over 100, because I don't have too many that are over 100, and then allocated or rare hard to find whiskeys. Now, I do have a few other tiers thrown in the mix, like wheated or rye, but for the most part, those are my different tiers. From there, I assess what storage I have. So right now the whiskey corner is kind of overflowing into the dining room. So my wife is actually getting on my case about it, but I have a solution. But before you even hit that point, you want to assess the storage or the area that you have to be able to put this bourbon, right? And by no means does this apply to anybody that just wants to have like 5 bottles of whiskey at a time, right? This is for the people that are going out there, they're either hunting or they're buying new stuff or what have you, that they have more than a few bottles, right? More than a handful of bottles. Now, after you assess the situation and where you're actually gonna keep the bourbon, you come up with a number that you feel comfortable with having in each of these tiers. Drew P. Whiskey said it the best. If you have over 100 bottles, right? If you haven't checked out Drew P. Whiskies, definitely go on his channel. It's a pretty cool channel. And it's different, right? But more thought-provoking, and it's pretty cool. I actually enjoy his channel and his videos a lot, so shout out to him. But he said it himself best. You can't really justify the money that you're spending on whiskey or bourbon if you have like more than 100, right? And basically what that means is that you have over 100 bourbons. Some of them could be closed, some of them could be open, but at the end of the day, you have all this money allocated into this bourbon, right? Now, yes, that's the epitome of whiskey collection, but a whiskey collection can be big, small, whatever have you. But at the end of the day, this is money that you have spent on your collection. So that is why it's important to, after you assess what it is that you're thinking of and assess or pick a number of how many bottles you want to have in a certain pricing tier or whatever tier you have, it's important to have a budget. Yes, budget. And I challenge you to have this budget in mind all the time that you go to purchase bourbon, right? Because it will get you from not purchasing stuff that, okay, well, maybe that can wait till next month, right? Or next paycheck or whatever have you, however you do your budget. It's, you know, it's something that you should do either way, and I'm not here for financial advice, but it will help you because you definitely don't want to spend or throw away money at all this bourbon that at the end of the day, you know, it's not really doing anything for you. I mean, you're tasting it, but what if it's a bad bottle, you know? Either way, that mentality aside, that is the next tip. Budget. Have a budget in place. After you have this, so again, we picked some kind of tier system, whatever that's gonna be for you. We've assessed our location or storage or wherever we're gonna keep our collection and see how much space we actually have. We've figured out a number that we're gonna pick for each of those tiers or categories that we have. Now, then we also have a budget. Now, those could kind of be flip-flop. Maybe it's a little bit better to have a budget first, and then that might help you pick a number. But either way, however you do it, they're kind of in the same place, right? Then go purchase your bourbon, right? But then what's important is that what you do with it afterwards, right? So for example, let's say that you're in a under 50 category or tier. I said I'm only gonna buy 10 bottles in this tier, right? 10 bottles, that's a pretty good amount. Now, this doesn't mean that you're gonna go out and purchase 10 bottles at once, that means that you're gonna have 10 bottles in your bar collection area of whiskeys under 50, right? Or whatever tier you're gonna have. Now, out of those 10 bottles, once you reach that 10, that's it. You don't buy another bottle in that specific tier until you have to replace a bottle, until you have an empty bottle. Then, when you replace that bottle, I would challenge you to replace it with a different bottle. And it could be something that you love. For example, I love Russell's Reserve 10-year. Whether it's the single barrel or a single barrel select or even just a regular 10-year, I love it. But once I'm finished with my Russell's Reserve, I'll use that money to purchase something else. I already know how that tastes, and I do like it. And yes, I'll re-buy it again when another bottle is empty maybe. But I know that I can find that on the shelf anytime, right? And if I really need to, I'll break my system just for that bottle, because it's a very big favorite of mine. But either way, not replacing it with the same bottle, or replacing it with a different bottle is better said, will let me incorporate another bottle in that tier into my bar and let me taste something else. Now, what will this do? It'll help you keep your budget. It'll help you keep your purchases to a minimum. It'll help you think about your collection a little bit better, because now you're thinking about it. You're just not going to the liquor store and saying, shut up and take my money. No, you're thinking about, okay, what is it that I really want to buy for my collection or my bar? And then lastly, and it is an important one, you get to actually taste all the bourbon. Like, obviously this is for the people that want to actually taste the bourbon, but for those that want to collect it, that's why I have a rare, allocated, hard to find tier. But you get to taste it all, because you're not overly stocked up on under $50 bourbons. And I'm using that as an example. Instead of having 25, 30, you only have 10. Right? You get to taste all those 10s and go back to them, finish those bottles, and then get to taste some other ones. So that is my few tips and something that I incorporate. Obviously, I didn't incorporate that into the last few store hauls, but overall, that is what I try to do when I'm not in the bourbon hunting season, right? When it's just regular and I just want to go purchase some bourbon or some whiskey, that's the system that I follow. Hopefully it helps you out. Hopefully it, you can put it to practice. And if you have any questions, definitely comment below. Let me know. But also comment below, what do you use? Do you have a system? Do you have a way of going around and purchasing your bourbons for your collections? Or is it just willy-nilly, boom, shut up and take my money. I want this, I want that, and I'm bringing it all in. How do you guys do it? Comment below. It'll be good to know how other people are going or are doing this. But if you haven't done so, like I said, please subscribe. That'll really help me out. And again, big shout out to Bourbon Rendezvous. You are amazing. Thank you for becoming a patron. And I truly appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm gonna keep enjoying this ECBP A121, and I want you to enjoy that whiskey. Cheers.